Hey team, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about why I've stopped tracking screen time and what I've started to track instead. I want to start with a question, which is, how many times per day do you think you pick up your phone? Is it 20, 50, maybe 100 times? Well, the average is now over 200 pickups per day. This number didn't just shock me, it also told me that our phones are changing the way that our brains work. I want to tell you about why I've moved away from screen time and gone over to something far more important: phone pickups. In this video, we're going to explore what pickups are, why they matter, how we can reduce our number of pickups per day, and the benefits of doing all of this. I guarantee that if you implement the ideas within this video, you'll feel more focused, calmer, and more in control by the end of the week. When most of us think about how to monitor our tech usage, at some point we've probably all considered screen time. It's one of the go-to metrics, and there's countless videos and articles online all about how you can bring that number under control. But screen time can be misleading. If you're anything like me, you might open an app and then leave it running on the side while you track a workout, log calories, or even in CarPlay mode. For me, CarPlay was one of the biggest issues of causing high screen time. I'd be driving along, listening to a podcast, or even have something on maps, and all that time my phone was taking it as active screen time, even though my phone wasn't even in my hands. That also caused a second problem. I then had an excuse for why my screen time was high. It was only one day when I realised how high my pickup number was that I saw I had a problem. This also linked into a recent anxiety and fear of separation I had from my phone that I realised how big the problem had become. That's why I think that pickups is the best way to show us how deliberately we use our phones. I want to start now by going over the definition of a modern smartphone's pickups. Most modern smartphones will define a pickup as waking our phone from an idle state. On an iPhone, for example, that means unlocking the phone or engaging with a notification. It doesn't count when we pick up our phone to put it into our pockets or move it from one place to another. But here's the crazy part. In a survey that was carried out earlier this year, on average, Americans are picking up their phones 205 times per day. And that figures up 42% from last year of 144 pickups per day. When we look at that closer, that's over 200 times that someone might be getting distracted by picking up their phone during the day. But what I want to look at is the fact that we may have all experienced that cycle when we pick up our phone to use it and put it down, and moments later the phone is back in our hand, and that cycle can sometimes go on and on. What we're going to look at today is how can we better deliberately use our phone to avoid that cycle once and for all. For me, pickups are great at telling us more about our intent. They don't hide the truth, but instead they tell us exactly how many times we act on an impulse to pick up our phones. While screen times can hide the truth, I find that pickups tell us exactly what we're doing when it comes to our devices. They show how many times we might break our focus to pick up our phone, and that's a metric that I think we should hone in on more and more. One thing that I've found really useful is to compare our number of pickups against our number of notifications received per day. If we took an example figure of 240 notifications, which interestingly, a recent study carried out by Michigan Medicine found that this was the average number of notifications received per day by 11 to 17-year-olds. Then we combine that with the average American pickups of 205 per day, and that would give us a ratio of 0.85 to 1. The idea behind this ratio is that we're aiming for a 1-to-1, which is just meaning that we don't pick up our phone more times than we're getting notifications. If you did start to see that your pickups were rising above your notifications, that might just be a flag that you need to bring in some of the strategies we're talking about in this video. For me personally, I aim for a 0.5 to 1 ratio. And that just means that I'm aiming to pick up my phone half the time that I receive notifications. I would say that the days I get closer to that target, I feel much better. The days when I'm further away from it, I tend to feel more anxious and definitely feel more drawn to my phone. It's all about balance and getting that right on a daily basis. Now let's take a look at some practical strategies that we can all use to reduce the number of pickups. Firstly, I want to talk about realistic downtime. This is taking a look at our schedule and picking time in our day where we realistically could put tech to one side and focus on a different task. Now this might start for you with 5 minutes and grow over time, but the key is that we use this number and we stick to it. Have a target in mind for what you want to hit in your day. But I stress again, the key is making it realistic when we know that we're not going to need our technology during that period. Next, it would be Do Not Disturb. Do Not Disturb is a great feature. It's essentially making us focus by putting our tech into a mode where we can't be disturbed or distracted. Use this as much as you can in your day, especially when, again, you know that you need to focus on a task. Thirdly, would be emergency contacts. So a lot of people I speak to about reducing their pickups will tell me that their fear would be being contacted or the need to be contacted by someone, especially in the case of an emergency. So again, linking back into Do Not Disturb, there's a setting which enables contacts that you decide to be able to reach you in case of those emergencies. So activate that. Another option is just if you're going to be with someone who will have their phone on them, give the contact details to someone else. That gives an option for you to be contacted in those cases of emergency. Then fourth, it would be looking at Think It, Write It. Get yourself a book like this. So often, a lot of our pickups stem from a thought that comes into our head and we act on impulsively. If we can write these thoughts down, they're saved for approaching at a later point in time. And finally, is a K-safe. K-safes are growing in popularity. They're essentially a box where we can put devices or other items and then create a time setting. We then have to wait for that time to expire before we can get the item back out. These are a great way for anyone that's concerned about willpower or discipline because it takes it out of our hands. Here's something I want to talk about, which I feel can often go missing in other content you might see about reducing our tech usage. And that's the idea of how does it actually make you feel? For some people, having a higher usage of their phone can be a positive thing. They may feel more energized, more connected, and better prepared. If that's how you feel, then that's great. You've found a balance that works for you, so keep using that strategy. But for a lot of us, that's not how we feel when we increase our phone time. Instead, we're left with a feeling of hollowness, sometimes even low-level anxiety, or much worse. That's when, using the strategies we've talked about in this video, we can start to bring that back under control. There's no perfect number, it's more about balance, trying to find what works for you. And when you start to feel that you're calmer, more focused, that's when we hone in and keep that strategy consistent moving forward. If we can do that, each day that goes by, we'll start to feel that little bit better. Since focusing on pickups rather than screen time, I've noticed 3 big changes which have really helped me. Firstly, it's to be more present. As time's gone on, I've got much better at having that need to pick up my phone at any given moment. Instead, I'm finding that I feel more in the moment. Secondly, is that my anxiety feels a lot more under control. The more pickups I had, often I felt more anxious, like I was missing out on something or something that I wasn't able to control. Now, I feel much more in control of my time. And then thirdly, I feel more creative. As we talked about in this video, there's often a mindset that when we have an idea now, we can Google it. But instead, I'd note it into my book and then I'd come back to it later. Quite often, if I had some research to do, I found that the detail I was going into now is far better than it was prior. So these are just 3 benefits that I'm feeling. And hopefully, if we can all look at how many pickups we have per day and seek to reduce that, we can all start to see some benefits that will improve our own lives. So, if you want to bring your tech usage back under control, here would be my 3 top takeaways from this video. Firstly, and it's been the main point, would be that we turn our attention to pickups rather than screen time. Screen time can be misleading, whereas pickups give us a true indication of how often we act on that impulse to pick up our phone. Secondly, would be Think It, Write It. Have a notebook or pen and paper close at hand all the time. That means if you get an idea, you can write it down and come back to it later. You're not pulled away from what you're doing at the time. And then finally, would be to remember our ratio. We're looking at how many times we pick up our phone versus notifications. If we can try and aim for that target of 0.5 to 1, that will definitely help us to feel more in control rather than being controlled by our devices. And remember, with all of these points, there is no way of getting perfection, but it's about trying to find a balance that works for you. The more that we can do that, hopefully the better and calmer and more focused that we start to feel day in, day out. Technology is amazing. It keeps us connected, helps us to learn, and also entertains us. But if we let it, it will control our time and attention. And for me, it's about taking back that control. My challenge to you would be for the next week, try looking at your pickups rather than your screen time. If you try this, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, so please let me know how you get on and also any other tips or tricks that you use to control your tech usage. I'm working on loads of content at the moment, which I'll be releasing over the next few weeks, which is all about how to feel better, live better, and keep learning. So subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.